Welcome to the Mansfield Buzz. Welcome everybody to the Mansfield Buzz. It is Thursday. It's 2 p.m. and we are in the DFW area and we are broadcasting live on YouTube right now. Let me put that up. If you are a first-time watcher on the channel today, watching live, this is our channel. Be sure to save that. Mansfield TX Buzz is our YouTube handle. And we would love for you to go subscribe. There's a notification bell. Click that anytime we put up new content or we change some content. You will be notified to come check us out live. And today we are excited, Jordan, because I just went back through the numbers and let me catch everybody up. We are now officially booked on Mansfield Buzz all the way through this month, October, and now the first week of November. And we are looking for people that do a lot of special things for the holidays, like if you're tapped into Halloween stuff, or you're tapped into Thanksgiving, or you got a Shopify account, or maybe a Google Merchant account, you got certain things you want to sell, you'd be a perfect candidate to come on Mansfield Buzz with your business locally in November. And we will be taking off the week of Thanksgiving, and of course, Christmas and New Year's week. So we'll let you guys grab some archives. But today we have Liberty Tax Defenders, and I'm really excited about this. We have our guests right now are Wade Dennis, Brad Horton. Brad Horton, of course, you may recognize that name. He is the mayor of Kennedale, Texas, right up the road, bumping into Mansfield here between Arlington, right off 287, kind of a, as he said, captured area of Texas, and he is the mayor. And of course, our other host, Jordan. Jordan, say hi.
Hello, everyone. We have a really good treat for y'all today.
Yeah, we're gonna dive into what I think is a conversation. And I'm going to say this out loud. We hear lots of ads on TV. You know, if you have an RS problem, you could lose your house, your car, and I guess that's all true. But there are ways to never get to that step. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today with Brad and with Wade. And we've got a series of questions our crack producers came up with. That would be Brad and Wade, our crack producers for this show, just so you know. So, guys, welcome. We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great to be here. Really excited.
Glad to be here.
Well, we just want to make this a conversation. And Jordan, as usual, I'll let you dive into the questions with Brad and Wade, and also let me interrupt when I feel deemed necessary to do so, because that's my personality. So forgive me. But y'all, welcome to the Mansfield Buzz. We're glad to have you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yin and yang, Hardy. Yin and yang. This works.
Exactly.
Well, let's get this started. I'm super excited about this. It's not often that you get people like with y'all's background to just have a conversation and share some knowledge. So this is going to be such a treat for everybody watching. So to kick things off, let's get to know each other a little bit for the people that are not familiar with who you are. So let's start with Wade. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, what's brought you to this point?
Okay. Well, I'm a longtime resident of the area. Been living in the Arlington-Mansfield area for about 40 years now, and also graduated locally. Got my degrees from UT Arlington.
I did too.
Yeah. So I got a bachelor's degree in accounting and a master's degree in taxation, and I've spent 27 years working in corporate America, and in each stop along the way, I've been involved in tax compliance and franchise taxes and a lot of different areas. So glad to be here.
That is a wealth of knowledge. I didn't know you could get a master's in tax, like in taxation.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes, it is a specialized degree and you got to be a masochist to go after that degree.
I was going to say that just sounds extremely tedious to me.
Yeah.
So what's the degree? What's the name of the degree again?
It's called a Master of Science in Taxation.
Oh
That's okay.
So
Can you imagine the book? Could you imagine the books, Jordan, that they have to read
Oh my God.
Like,
and the
that's
papers
it.
they have to write and understanding code? That's amazing.
Yes. And
oh,
yeah,
you
so
should have seen. Go ahead.
that means you can actually like read and understand the writing in all those, those codes.
Yeah, they have a special class on parsing the tax code, don't they, Brad?
Yes, they do. Yes.
Yes, that made me think of Harry Potter. It's more like, what they call it when you speak to snakes? Parcel tongue. It was like parcel tongue.
Right.
And well, let's kick it over to you, Brad. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background. What's brought you also to this point?
All right. I have lived in the DFW metro area most of my life. Got my bachelor's degree at UT Austin and master's degree from UT Arlington. I also have a master's in taxation. And, I don't think words can do justice to some of the books we had to read. It's painful. And, it's what would possess one to do that. I think Wade hit the nail on the head. I've been married 17 years. My wife and I lived in Arlington for most of that. We moved to Kennedale a little over 4 years ago. And I enjoy sports, big UT Longhorns fan. I hook 'em. And, sad to say I'm a Cowboys fan. It's been a long time. I was a boy when they were relevant.
We're on the same boat.
How can you have so much talent and be so bad? Never mind.
I don't know. It's one of those things. But I stick with them. Rangers, Maverick Stars, local teams. So I enjoy golfing when I have the time, and which is very infrequent. I think it's probably been a year since I've played or more.
Yeah.
So, in terms of career, I've been in accounting over 20 years. I actually worked with the IRS for almost 15 years, and now with Wade, and excited to be Wade's business partner doing what we do now. So.
Okay, so that really takes us to our next question for you guys, which is what possessed you two to get into the accounting and tax field?
And both y'all can jump in on this one. I'd like to hear from both sides on this.
For me, when I first started college, I was undeclared for the first 2 years and wasn't sure really what I wanted to do. And I tried a couple of different avenues, and none of them really hit a spark. And then I decided to take an accounting class, and kind of I enjoyed it. I enjoy puzzles. So a lot of accounting work is solving puzzles. So that attracted me to it, and I stuck with it and got the degree. But midway through my degree, I didn't plan on really going into accounting, because in my undergrad, I thought I wanted to go into ministry. So I took off to seminary for a year and a half. So it was a full year and a half, 2 years before I actually took my first accounting job. So I'm glad I felt I had something to fall back on, and it's worked out really well.
Indeed. Yeah. In terms of me, how did I get into it? I'll be upfront. It's because I wasn't a good enough baseball player to play in the major league. Accounting was not, being an accountant was not.
I was there too, brother.
Yeah. It wasn't my live stream. I'll admit that. Yeah. If you'd have told me when I was younger, 18, 20, if I was going to be an accountant, I would have laughed. And, I thought accountants were just a bunch of little nerdy guys sitting in cubicles with pocket protectors. And there's a couple of those, but I think, I don't think that's generally the case for the most part. But, I graduated from college, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And I ended up finishing early. And so I didn't know I was going to finish early till I was already in the semester. And so I had to move home, and I started subbing and subbing teaching here at Kennedale High School. Lived in Arlington. My dad was actually the superintendent of Kennedale High School for a while. And that spring semester, I started subbing. I got to know Coach Barrett. I don't know if anybody knows Coach Richard Barrett. I think he's the best high school football coach in the state of Texas. Yeah. Got to know him, and he's like, why don't you teach and coach? So I did that for a couple of years, and really enjoyed it. And it was a great time, great experience working for Coach Barrett. I mean, I cannot say enough about him. He's, a winner, great leader. And, at the end of the day, I just wasn't what God put me on this earth to do. And, I knew a family friend that was a manager of an accounting firm in Waco, and moved to Waco and worked there. And just, I've been doing accounting ever since. And, I didn't go to school to be an accountant initially. So I had to get, go back and get accounting degrees and whatnot. And, that's it. But at the end of the day, I guess along the way, it was, you realize you're helping people with their problems, their finances. And I guess that's what I enjoy about it is being able to help people.
That's really cool. My dad was an accountant, so I'm familiar with the field. And I find it interesting because he also, like, when he went to school, he wasn't sure what he wanted to do. Ironically, he did accounting because he thought it'd be easy. Like, what's wrong with you? How would that be easy? But yeah, very much so. Like, the puzzle part of it is sort of what he brought up too. Is just like, hey, it's just like putting together these pieces, and there's all these moving parts, but it all paints a bigger picture once you put it together. Which is really cool to get to see that. Because money tells a story that we don't often see unless we're really, to be cliche, accounting for it. And it can give you a really good diagnosis. I know for him, he would talk about how, like, it gives you really good diagnosis of the health of a business. And you could see it so clearly when you look at that.
Absolutely. There's no doubt. No doubt.
And Herdy, I didn't know you also were going to be a professional baseball player.
Well, it's a dream, but when you get hurt and you played it since you were 8 years old, by the time you get done with college, you're so beat up that it's only, I'm probably healthier today at 70 than I was going through 16, 20 years of sports. You just get tore up, and you actually get kind of burned out, truth be known. And it's not as exciting as it was, when you're younger. It's just my opinion, but yeah, you just, I didn't really care that much to go there. I had other aspirations, but it was fun. It's fun to be an athlete. That's all. And I can really, and baseball was my sport too. So, yep, there you go. Enough said. It's not my show. So my dad loved slide rules. Okay. What can I tell you? He was addicted to slide rules when he was in the space program in Huntsville. So, he couldn't wait to pull out his slide rule and show me how it worked. And I was like, deer in the headlights, forget it.
Well, Brad is similar. He's got an abacus that he likes to pull out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so there you go.
And I'm actually terrible at math, I would add. I'm really awful at math. And I used to teach accounting at Brookhaven College over in Dallas, and I tell my students that, and they'd laugh. Then we'd start working a problem, and they'd say, "Man, you're awful at math." But like Wade said, it's like putting together a puzzle. It's you can just plug the numbers in software or whatever. But yeah, I'm terrible at math. Absolutely
that's I guess a common misconception on it is you think that accounting is math heavy, but it's more about that overall bigger picture.
Sure. Absolutely. No doubt about it.
So my next question for you too is, obviously why the reason why you guys started Liberty Tax Defenders. But I would like to point out that I find it fascinating that you guys have similar backgrounds, but you got to it in very different ways. And even in your professional careers have like a very different views of it, which I find really interesting because I can see how you two put together can give you a much better perspective because you get to see it from a macro and micro points of views and see it from like end user to corporate and just like how to be able to merge those two, which I think is why you guys are going to be such an interesting combination. So I'd love to talk a little bit about how how you met each other and how you combine your powers to create Liberty Tax Defenders.
Sure. Well, Brad and I used to
Wade, you want to kick us off?
Yeah. Brad and I used to attend church together and got to know each other and bonded over a mutual love of Longhorn football. Hook 'em again. And being accountants, we've been talking for years about going into business together. To quit working for the man, as you say. And finally, the situation recently late last year, my situation changed and reached out Brad and we said, let's do it. And here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I honestly wish we would have done it 10 years ago. I just, and Wade, like Wade said, we talked about doing this for so long, and, my situation had changed. I think, working with the IRS for 15 years, I think philosophically, I'm probably on the other end of the spectrum than most of the people there. And I made the mistake of going into management around the time of COVID. And it just, I guess the higher I went, the more I was just like, this isn't right. And I don't, there are great people that work there. I have friends that I still, but I mean, the people running it, there was just this disdain for hardworking Americans, entrepreneurs, and, this idea that everybody is guilty and we need to get to them. And I'm like, this isn't right. And, Wade and I we're talking one night, and I'm like, let's do this. And we did, and it's been great. And, I'd say God has blessed us from the get-go. We've been doing it, about 18 months. I kind of started before Wade, and, been doing it about a year together now. And, but I guess at the end of the day, like we mentioned earlier, it's this desire to help people. And, when the IRS comes calling, it's something that's, it's unsettling, it's unnerving. And I don't like getting notices in the mail from them, and, we want to help people. I think, with Wade's experience and my experience, we're uniquely qualified to do this and to help people out of these jams, if you will, and get their lives back. So,
and we've been really blessed from the get-go as far as having clients. It's amazing how many issues there are out there, and how many people do need help. So it's really, like Brad says, I really enjoy helping people out and helping them get out of the problems.
Yeah, and I would go on to say, as we get more further into the talk about this, I think most people are just totally confused. I think they don't know what the left hand's doing from the right hand. If you've ever had to communicate with the IRS, and there's nothing wrong, they just get a lot of phone calls, and a lot of they get overwhelmed. But it seems like you're always dealing with different folks. They make you go back through all the questions and answers, blah blah blah. So it's hard on both sides. I would say, but harder, especially on the person that gets the letter. And doesn't understand it and can't get answers, right?
That's
what
absolutely.
you guys are good for.
No doubt.
Yeah. And I love how you guys are taking knowledge that you gained through your experience working at a higher level, right? Like you're working straight with them, working in the corporate space. And you're taking all that knowledge down to all of us. And we have access to the kind of people that, like, this big corporations and like this big government entities, use, but as individuals, like, you can't go build that kind of department. But with you guys, you're bringing all that knowledge to everybody in an accessible way, which is huge. It's one of the things that I'm really passionate about too, is because I come from an advertising background, and it's a similar thing. Like everything I've learned working for the giant companies, like I have all these insights that come from working in such a fast-paced environment. And then you can take all that learning and then just pass it down to everybody else and just truly make a more balanced playing field. And I think that's very commendable.
Awesome.
I do too.
Thank you.
Now here's the fun part, Jordan.
Yes. So now, since you guys really do have a 360 view over this, what are the services that you provide? What you've decided to focus on? Because I'm sure you really thought this through and thought of the best way to help people.
Absolutely. Wade, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah. Well, our main line of business, our main focus is, of course, the tax resolution work. Like I said, we want to help people with their problems with the IRS, and that's going to take a couple of forms. One avenue is we have to make sure that the client is current on their taxes. So that means we're going to maybe filing past tax returns, like a couple of years of tax returns. We need to get them caught up because the IRS won't talk to us until you are fully current on all your returns and your payments. So we got to get them current. That's step one. And then step two is actual solving the problem, which is going to be either an offer in compromise or some type of payment plan. And then once we solve the problems, we also do regular tax and regular accounting work. So we do want to transfer these clients into long-term tax and accounting clients to keep them out of trouble going forward. Brad, what would you add?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's a great idea. And we also, you know, when the IRS, you know, we deal with collection issues, and then when you're under audit, we do audit representations.
Yeah.
And, you know, like Wade said, it's, you know, ideally we would like people to not have to deal with that to begin with, but it happens. So, you know, once they come to us, we want to make sure that they stay out of the problem going forward. And, you know, we do tax preparation, tax returns. We do CFO services, bookkeeping services as well. But we kind of partner with some other accountants, and, you know, we refer business back and forth as well. And, you know, another aspect I would add that we do is I was in international tax issues for 12 years before I went into management. So, you know, people that have investments overseas, you know, non-resident aliens that have filing requirements. We had a couple clients with that. I mean, you know, the penalties on that are very severe, and it's very complex. And so, you know, I would add, if somebody's listening and they, you know, have a bank account in a foreign country and don't know how to report it, give us a call. Because, you know, the IRS is merciless on stuff like that. And, you know, they've had several campaigns, which I was a part of, which were, I would call them money grabs, where they're taking basically half the balance of people's foreign assets as a punitive punishment, if you will, for not properly reporting it. And like, Herdy, like you mentioned, it's so complex. This stuff is so complex. People just don't know. And I mean, trying to, you know, get your average person to understand, you know, I've got to file XYZ by, you know, and under a set of certain conditions, it's really crazy. So, you know, I'd also add, we deal with international issues as well. So,
and that's huge, because so many, just being in this kind of global village environment, you know, that's nice to know. And I just agree with you so much. I don't think people have a clue why they would ever pick up the phone and call direct and say, I just got this letter. What are we? You know, I mean, call these guys. Okay. I'm just going to say it one more time. Call them.
Yes. No, that's really cool. That's something that I think not a lot of people, there's not as much like the international side. I just recently was looking into, I have some family that lives in Oaxaca, Mexico, and there's a lot of mezcal there, which is up and coming. And so we were considering the idea of importing some and starting a label here, and just starting to think about that. It's like, oh my God. So we have an entity in Mexico. We have one here. You're moving stuff back and forth. Like, how do the taxes even work on that? Like, are you getting double taxed? Like, how does all that play? I mean, it gave me a headache just thinking about it.
And I would go on further to say that if you're in a startup situation and you know, and you're more established, say, a couple of years, don't go ahead and get with these guys CPA work, get set up correctly, make sure you're in conformity with everything you need to do, not only statewide but, you know, federal wide. So, because, you know, it's peace of mind when you don't have to handle this stuff and you can run your business. So
absolutely. And could I add too, that's a great point, Herdy. You know, the tax planning, the tax dollars are saved on the front end. And, you know, like, you know, we have clients that come to us after the fact, and that, you know, they've gone into these wild business, I don't want to say wild, but, you know, wanting us to help, but, you know, we certainly do. But if you call us on the front end, we can help you, you know, plan your transactions properly, plan your business properly, where you can say, I mean, yeah, it's a pain and tedious, but you're going to save a lot more on the front end than having to come back years afterwards and try and correct the situation.
Yeah, and there's only so much we can do on the back end. I mean, if the structure's already in place, we can only report it as it is. But if you do that, like Brad says, if you spend those dollars on the front end, it saves so much headache down the road.
Absolutely.
There you go. Yeah. Good. Yeah. I just know that, you know, deciding whether you want to be an LLC or an S Corp, or how the tax advantages work, how the partners work, all that stuff, you know, you'd be foolish not to just do it right from the get-go.
Sure.
You know, that way you don't have to worry about it. It just makes total sense to me. But there you go. Yep. But total sense is not what y'all handle. So there you go.
Yes, which you know, takes us a little bit to our next question, right? It's what should people choose to go with Liberty Tax Defenders? And we were talking a little bit before the show. We started the show about you know, asking the dumb questions, and I think it's one thing that also it's really nice about you guys is you take the you have good, like there's nothing intimidating about you two. You're welcoming.
Mm-hmm.
You have the background, but it's not like, oh, like I feel like I could just sit down with you and just be honest. Like, I have no idea about this. Can you please walk me through it? Which is huge, right? So I mean, that's like, for at least for myself, that's one of the reasons I would choose you guys. But I would definitely want to hear you from your perspective as well.
Yeah. Well, I would say with us, and especially tax resolution, you see these commercials. They're a national chain. It's no disrespect to them, but it's a very streamlined process. You're just a stat to these guys. They, no matter your situation, you're going to get the same treatment, the same resolution. And a lot of times these guys don't have, a CPA do all the work. You have somebody come in at the end. And with us, I like to think that we have a personalized touch. We like to establish a relationship with our clients, future clients. And we want to, it's not just a one-time thing with us. We want to help them get out of their problem and then, partner with them going forward. So to us, you're not just a stat, you're not just a number, and you're going to have our personalized touch, and you're going to have, and obviously we're kind of talking about needing to grow already, but we're going to make sure that we have a CPA's personalized touch every step of the way, intimately involved, planning, doing the work. And I think that's really what sets us apart is our relationship. And Wade, I know you.
Yeah, and I was just going to add that one thing that we do is we tell our folks, hey, we'll hold your hand through the entire process, and we'll keep communicate with you at each step of the way, what's going on, what you can expect. And as Brad always tells our clients, we're always available. Hey, pick up the phone. You got questions? You're feeling anxious about the situation? Just pick up the phone and call us. We may not know what's going on at that particular moment where they are in the IRS is in the process, but just talking to somebody just relieves that anxiety to know that we're out there fighting for them.
Absolutely. And we don't charge by the hour, by the way. So you're not going to charge them when you call us.
Yes.
Our clients know what we charge before we even go to work. And it's an unnerving situation. To add on what Wade said, that's an excellent point. But the IRS, dealing with the IRS is hurry up and wait. They demand, they want stuff from you in 10 days, and then you might go several months without hearing from them. Well, and we reach out in the process, and even though we don't have new information, but we tell our clients, call us, pick up the phone and call us. And I think, that does help. And I would say there's no dumb questions. I don't want to bother you, but there's no dumb questions. No dumb questions.
So go deeper into this question. So you represent somebody, you're calling them, or you're addressing a letter or something that they turned over to you, they're a client. When you call them or when you document with them, which I imagine you do both, do you have a different person or group of people you go to within the IRS, or you deal with the same people that the individual deals with?
It depends on the situation. If it's just kind of a general collection that has not yet gone out to an actual officer, then you're dealing with somebody new every time. And, I guess, fortunately, I think my experience of dealing with them, how to deal with situations like that helps. But generally, when you're under audit or you've got an officer assigned, then you will deal with the same person. And, just depending on the case at hand, sometimes it's better to try and just get it resolved quickly without, and just, deal with a different person every time. But sometimes we tell our clients, you know what, this is better. This is a complex situation. Let's get it assigned to somebody. That way we're dealing with the same person, the same team. And, so just depending on the complexities of the situation, it's the same person, or it might be a different person every time.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I figured once it gets to a certain level, it gets assigned to somebody, blah, blah, blah. And then you guys are working directly with them.
Right.
Do they, this is a fun question. Do they, when they know you're involved, is it handled differently from them talking to you, since you have experience working with them? And do they back off? I don't know how to say this. Are they more,
do they flex
transparent about everything or not?
For the most part, they do, because they understand they want to get paid at the end of the day. They want their money, and whether that's for the most part. But sometimes we get some very difficult, folks. And actually, I had one guy hang up on me. He told me he was a communist, and I'm like, sir, you took an oath to defend the United States of America.
Right.
And, you know, I'm like, you shouldn't be working for the U.S. government if you're a communist, right? You know, yeah.
Didn't he actually say he was a Maoist?
Yeah, he liked Mao. He said,
yeah, he liked Mao.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Jordan, we probably just got kicked off YouTube, but that's okay.
No,
I know. I'm kidding. Don't care.
Yeah.
All right. So, go ahead, Jordan. Sorry about that. I just wanted to ask and see if their process, you know, they just know what to talk to them about when they get a hold of them. That was really the bottom line.
And it's a huge advantage, right? I mean, I could see like you're going through some, complicated process, and then you get assigned a person like that to a layman and be like, oh God, like this just got worse. Right now, there's a specific person involved. When you may very well be in a place like, this is good. Like, now we're going to talk to the same person and get this resolved instead of getting like a new person every time who has no clue what's going on.
And
and they do kind of view us as a partner with them in a sense, in that, you know, they know that we're trying to help resolve the issue. Now, obviously, we go to bat and we advocate for our clients, and, you know, everything allowed by the law. We try and make sure that our clients get the best deal possible. And the IRS knows that. But at the same time, they also know, I mean, you know, they've got limited resources. Well, that's debatable. But they do kind of try and work with us just because they know we're trying to speed things along.
Yeah. And I was just going to add that it's just Brad's experience working for the IRS is really beneficial for us because he knows the inside workings of the service. He knows their tactics, their strategies. So he's able to bring that to bear on behalf of our clients. And it's just great. His experience is great in that area.
Hey, and Jordan, before we get to the end of this, we got some more questions. I think this is a great time for me to post this up. And Jordan, watch this. You're going to like this. Okay. So let me show y'all something. He has some tips, 7 secrets on their website. You can download a PDF. Now, you're not going to be able to copy this link. So I'm going to post this link as a live link in the description box when the show's over. But let's do this. Let me go into this. This is what you're going to get. And let me move this banner off. Is you're going to get a slideshow that shows the 7 things that you can read, which is really cool. I love this, by the way. And it goes through those secrets of things and questions and answers that you can read right there by downloading this, and you'll get the PDF by going to that link, which we're going to post inside the description box once the show's over. So any discussion on that? And I just thought I'd do it now. I don't want to do it at the end of the show because in case people are watching, I want to catch them in the middle of this so they have a chance to download this. Okay. Sure.
Awesome.
So very cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Just a tip to help people. And, you're on our website if you want that free book and sign up to our blog. We try and post helpful tips like that on our blog as well, usually once a week, sometimes twice a week. But at the end of the day, we want people to not have to deal with the IRS problems, and if they can solve them on the front end, that's even better. So
good, yay! And here's one, Jordan, for you.
Yes, let's get to the meat of this, right? We got some tax professionals here. Let's get some advice. So, can you tell me what are some of the biggest mistakes people and business make that like really get them on the IRS radar?
Wade, you want to start that?
As far as one of the biggest mistakes is not dealing with the issue when it first arises. When people have a habit, they get that letter in the mail that goes in a stack on the desk and they forget about it. And then it just builds and builds. And as it's building, that interest is accruing each and every day. Mm-hmm. And we've had clients come to us at the last minute when they're about to go and put a lien on your property. At that point, we've got to jump through hoops to really get after and get the IRS to delay the process. But jump on that issue when you first get that letter, deal with it then. Don't wait.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the number one thing I would say is don't ignore them, as Wade said. But then, you talk about not getting on their radar in the first place. Well, there's several things that, you can do to not do that. And number one is, double check your tax returns when you file them, make sure your name's spelled correctly. And, I laugh, but we all do it, right? Make sure your social security numbers are entered correctly. And then more seriously, if you're a small business owner, you're an individual sole proprietor, a series of losses. Like if you go more than 3 years and you're a small business owner, gross receipts, 200 to 400 grand, somewhere in there, and you have 5 straight years of losses, they're automatically they're going to take a closer look at you. Whether you're actually audited or not, depends, but that's going to get them on your radar. So try not to run up losses. Once you're under audit, the 2 biggest mistakes that people actually make, in my opinion, is number 1, talking to them, and number 2, letting them come to your home or place of business. And I say the IRS has the right to interview you, but if you have a representative, whether it's a CPA attorney, that representative can generally talk to them on your behalf. If the IRS wants to talk to you, they can help you qualify your answers. And I say this because the IRS agents, I was one myself, are well trained to get you talking, to put you at ease, and they're asking you questions for stuff that they already know the answer to. And they generally audit 2 to 3 years in the past. So they're asking you questions about this expense 3 years ago. And, I can't even remember what I had for dinner last night. Right. So, and they're using this to try and, I don't want to say entrap you, but they use, when you say yes or no, and the answer is the other way, they use that to assert penalties. So don't talk to them. Hire a CPA, hire an attorney to represent you, and they can help you qualify those answers. And then the other thing is the IRS has the right to come out to your place of business where your books are kept. So sole proprietors, oftentimes that's their home. Smaller business, that's their business. Nothing good happens when they come out, right? So when you have a CPA or attorney defend you, whether that's us or somebody else, your place of business becomes where the books are kept. So when our clients come to us, we get their books, and the IRS will have to come to us instead of coming and camping out at your house, because they come out there and they're looking for assets, they're looking for income. It just, nothing good happens in your place of business. You don't want them there. You don't want them talking to employees, this, that, and the other. So those are the 2 biggest mistakes I think they make when they're under audit. And then, when you get a little further down in the situation, if you don't have documentation to prove you have an expense, don't take it, because the IRS, the Internal Revenue Code gives the IRS authority. It specifically says you've got to be able to provide documentation or you can't take it. They'll disallow that. So mileage, I know it's a hassle, but keep a mileage log. Home office deduction, I know it's a hassle, but keep track of all that stuff, because they love to prey on stuff like that. It's low hanging fruit for them. They'll disallow it. The law is on their side.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
General, you hear this, do you save documentation? What is the general rule? 5 years to keep past information? And they have a little clause in there that says, but what if it's fraud? And then you're kind of stuck with, you got rid of stuff but they're using another aspect of the law that's not true. But so can you address that? What is the rule? Or what are the perceived rules, I should say?
Well, 3 years to 6 years. But,
okay.
But like you said, if they suspect fraud or they suspect substantial understatement, they have ways around that. So, honestly, I tell people to try, and I know it's a pain, but try and keep it forever if you can.
Yeah.
You never know. If they suspect fraud, there is no time period.
Okay.
And, if you can store documents in the cloud or PDF them or whatever,
sure,
or you have access to them, I would advise to do that, because, when I was in international, they would use international issues to go back and open up closed statutes. And that just, yeah, I know it's scary, but
bottom line is document.
Yes.
I can't tell folks. Yeah, Wade, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, as a point of clarification, when he says 3 years, that's 3 years from the time the return is filed. So if you file a return 2 or 3 years late, the clock starts ticking when you file the return, not when you paid the bill.
Yeah.
Right?
Gotcha.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
Excellent point. Point.
So document, right? And keep copies of everything and put them in the cloud, put them in a document folder, then put them in the cloud and get folders organized, keep all your stuff.
Yeah.
I use Excel spreadsheets for everything all the way across the top, and my mileage is tracked on Google, and I actually print those, and I also put them in the cloud. with the actual person I met, the reason I met with them, and everything, and the total mileage at the end of the day. I'm bulletproof on that, and I love it. So it makes you feel good when you do it right. That's all I got to say.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right.
That's a good tip.
Jordan, back to Jordan.
Yes. So then let's switch the focus a little bit. And you talked a little bit about how we should talk to the IRS. How should people approach when they're dealing with the IRS? And it's a very scary entity for your average person. Now, it's nice to talk to you about it because it lets us know that it's actually, it reminds us that it's humans running this. Like it's a government entity, but at the end of it, it's people as well. But there is definitely a specific dance, or there's probably a better way to do this dance. So I'd love for you to walk us a little bit through that.
Yeah, Wade, you want to start with this one?
Well, I would just say that we are dealing with people, so it's helpful not to go in there with an antagonistic or combative attitude. Like I said, we are dealing with people, and what's the saying? You can catch more flies with honey than with vinegar, maybe. So you can get more done, and get the person more favorable the friendly you are.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't go in there with a combative attitude that you're going to take them down, because that's usually not going to end well.
No.
Yeah.
Power wins every time.
That's an excellent point. We are dealing with people, and just to echo what Wade said, I think you've got two extremes of people, when it comes to dealing with the IRS. And one is, like we talked about earlier, ignoring them altogether. You don't want to do that. But at the same time, they're not your friends. Now, they're well trained to put you at ease, and they'll tell some jokes and be nice to you, but they're not your friend. And remember that. And if you do talk to them, be very guarded in what you say. But like Wade said, generally, and obviously we vehemently disagree with them, but we tell them, I respectfully disagree, instead of, what, you're wrong.
Right.
So you want to be nice and professional when you're dealing with them, even though it's obviously very frustrating and maddening at times, but being professional and like guys like us, we communicate with them. They sometimes they may say no to what we're proposing, but we keep going back and keep providing evidence. And so we another thing I'd say is we keep the lines of communication open with them. And you might, if you're not dealing with a set person, and you're dealing with somebody that's rude or unprofessional, then, sometimes we'll just hang up and call back. And that's another thing that I think people, when they try and call the IRS, may not realize too, is that, they're dealing with somebody that's rude, that maybe just is having a bad day. And don't be afraid to hang up and call back as well.
Yeah, and I would say also, with dealing with them, you guys probably tell this to your clients, you can only present to them what you have, right? So if they don't have what's needed, then you're not going to be able to work a magic trick with them, because it's a hard request for a hard piece of information, correct? And if they don't have it, what are you going to do?
Right. If they don't have it, they don't have it. And that's, I think what Wade mentioned earlier is, handle this on the front end. It's a lot easier to handle it on the front end than try and come back and recreate stuff that doesn't exist. And which we can't, by the way. So.
Yeah, and I'd also add, don't assume that they are correct either. Just because you get a notice to pay a bill, a lot of people will just write a check and to be done with it. But we have found that they are wrong more often than not.
Wow.
In their interpretation. Yes. So if you do get a notice, reach out to us, get help.
Yeah.
Are there red flags that are more automatic than others? And by that, for instance, let's say somebody doesn't have an accountant during business and they go use one of these tax services where they just fill out the form. It takes them through the steps. They don't have a signed CPA signature on them. Does that matter to the IRS, or do they kind of look at where, you know what I'm saying? Is something filed through a free tax service, that you did yourself at home, going to be more susceptible to an audit, or is an audit a random thing?
The answer is it depends. You know, there are certain firms or whatever you want to companies out there that are red flag, that are kind of on listed transactions. So they're suspicious.
Okay.
You know, and then I'd say if your income is below 250,000, 300,000, below that level, that's going to raise a red flag, especially, you know, because let's face it, if you're wealthy, they know you've got attorneys, and that's not to say they don't get audited, but they know you can afford to help. So, I mean, if they do see, you know, your income is below like 250,000 and you're doing one of these like doc in a box accounting firms or whatever, that's going to raise some red flags, coupled with other things like, you know, you've got some extreme numbers, or also rounded numbers like 50,000. You know, if you put that on, that's going to catch their attention too, rather than like $50,181.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah. So they look at some broad things and narrow it down a little bit too. I just always curious about that myself.
Sure.
So
absolutely.
Yeah, actually, let's dive deeper into that. You know, let's talk about some of the tactics that the IRS uses, because I'm sure you guys know like plenty of them.
And you know, I would say for that to start out, one thing we're noticing is they're becoming more aggressive. And you know, what used to take them, I would say 18 to 24 months to go into collections, we're now seeing clients coming to us, they're doing that in a matter of 2 to 3 months, and that's unheard of. They're just speeding things up, and usually it takes a series of actions to get to that point. Now they're just, we're going to garnish your wages, we're going to put liens on your property. And, you know, that's a scary thing, obviously. You know, and then obviously as you guys hear on the commercial, they are ramping up, hiring more agents. The last 2 summers I was there, I spent my entire summers in interviews hiring people. So these people are coming. And, you know, again, you know, one of the tactics, the biggest tactic, I think I mentioned this earlier, is if you talk to them, they're going to try and put you at ease. They're well trained to do that. So be very cautious in what you give them. And, you know, that's why, you know, Wade said, call us or call somebody to represent you, because you don't want to say something, you know, by mistake, because people make mistakes. You know, you can't remember what you did 2-3 years ago with specificity, or, you know, exactly. And they already know the answer to that. So, you know, those are some things to definitely be on the lookout for. And Wade?
I would add that we're also seeing that the income brackets that they are targeting in their audits is coming down. So the lower income people are starting to be targeted. It's not just the people with the tax attorneys and tax accountants on their staff that can deal with this stuff, but they're starting to hit lower income groups with their enforcement issues. So of course, you know, that's going to scare people when they get that letter. And again, don't be scared. Call us. We can help you out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I would think that you got a lot of folks like myself that Social Security, you know, that we're on, and I'm only working part-time as a consultant because I never want to retire and I just want to have fun. So I make a little extra income on the side, right? No big deal. But you still have to document this stuff. And I tell people, you know, I've bumped into several sole proprietor people say, well, I'm just making a little bit on the side. I said, you know, it doesn't matter. Go DBA yourself, be official, you know, and get it set up correctly. So, you know, I would say just do it right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a stickler for organization. I can't help it. It's just something, some people are, some people aren't. I've just always been really organized, and, you know, so, but there's a lot of people that aren't. And I would say a lot of people probably get in trouble because they get so busy in their business working on it that they put receipts over here, stuff over there, the old shoebox person, right? Where they don't keep daily tasking in front of them. So it's a tedious thing to do, but it's worth it at the end of the year when your accountant goes, holy smokes, man, you got that to me at the end of January. All your spreadsheets are done. Everything is correct. I love you. So,
you're an accountant's dream.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Because all you have to do is look it over and put it in the boxes and go back and have us double check everything. And that's perfect, right? But that doesn't mean that you're not going to go through an audit. Doesn't mean that you might, you know, so just do it right. And when they come, just don't be nervous. Just handle it. Right.
That's right.
So if somebody's on, this is a question I wanted to ask because I'm speaking this from some experience, not necessarily me, but let's just say that somebody's in an installment agreement already with them, paying a debt off. Can they renegotiate that? Is that something that can be re-looked at if their income's changed? Is that worth doing, or does that just set yourself up to get more hassle?
Absolutely. Well, the IRS is going to look at it every 2 years to begin with. And,
Right, gotcha.
say, oh, he's got more income. They're going to,
Right.
Absolutely. We do. We've actually renegotiated several plans the taxpayer or our client has new information that benefits them. We'll renegotiate it and drop that amount a little bit, but absolutely. And, it's been my experience that you can always renegotiate. And, more times than not, I would add this as well, is that the IRS is willing to negotiate. I mean, as long as you can present the information, present the actual case, they're more times than not, they're willing to negotiate. Because, I mean, they, obviously their job is to defend the best interest of the government. So they're going to take the most extreme position possible. But, when you can present to them, this isn't feasible, then it's been our experience. I mean, Wade and I get some bad, I don't want to say bad apples, but people that won't, budge every now and then. But, for the most part, they are willing to negotiate.
Okay.
Yeah. And not only that, but we can also, if they are in an installment plan and their situation changes, we can also come back to the IRS with an offer and compromise and get a big chunk of that debt eliminated.
Yeah.
In fact, we've got a client right now that's what we put him on an installment plan to get him in the good graces with the IRS, but then we're going to turn around and put in an offer and compromise to help him out even better.
Absolutely.
So is that a benefit for somebody that if they were on an installment and they've proven they've made their payments on time, that's a good thing when you go back to renegotiate, possibly eliminating that due to income changes and stuff? Yeah. That's cool. Good.
Yeah. And like I said, the IRS is more willing to talk to us if you are current, you are paying, everything is
filed taxes, did everything right.
Yeah. And they'll come to the table and talk with us at that point. But if you are behind 2 or 3 years behind, they're not going to talk to us at all until you get caught up.
Yeah. Yeah. And making a payment plan, it shows them it's a sign of good faith that you're trying to resolve your debt. And they'll talk to you at that point a lot more likely than they will if you hadn't done anything. And making estimated tax payments, withholding taxes properly throughout the current year, not necessarily the years in question, but they want to make, like Wade said, they want to make sure that you're current. And so, when you can take steps to show them that you're current, that you're making estimated tax payments, you're withholding, you're on a payment plan, you're trying to resolve your past debt, that goes a long way, getting them to the negotiating table.
So one thing you guys haven't talked about today, does a personal bankruptcy or a business bankruptcy save you?
Not likely. Not likely.
It's
go ahead.
It's a very strict set of guidelines. If the IRS has already put liens on your property, then you can't, then that won't work.
Yeah.
And part of that's just their pecking order. But it's a very limited circumstance where that can save you. And, I would have to say no to answer your question.
Yeah. More likely than not.
Yeah.
Do you guys foresee, because in the economy we're in now with the inflation and everything, this is just me asking another question. Do you guys feel like a lot of people are not going to be able to fulfill their payment for their business next year because they're living on credit cards, stuff like that? The inflation's gone up. You all anticipate being extremely busy in the next couple of years simply because of where we've been the last couple of years?
I think so, yes, for that economic reasons. And also, I think, you've got anywhere from 60 to 80% of CPAs are going to be retiring in the next 5 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Coupled with the fact that the IRS has billions of dollars in the Inflation Reduction Act sitting in their war chest. They're hiring. And, we have a specialized niche. There's not a whole lot of people that focus and specialize in tax resolution. I think there may be 5,000 firms nationwide that do that. So with all those variables and factors, I do anticipate, we'll be pretty busy. So.
Yeah. As Brad alluded to, this tax act, as of May of this year, they've only spent 3% of that budget. So as they continue to hire agents and spend that money, we're going to see the enforcement efforts continually rise. So yeah, we expect to see business booming here in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I kind of just assume based on all the hiring they doing and being able to look at more stuff that's just going to increase y'all's workflow. But the thing I've heard today, which is really cool, and we're bumping in top of the hour, this is how fast this time goes with you guys asking questions, is I picked up that the number one thing today is not to get into a cookie cutter type of situation with this. Build your personal relationship with you guys, right? Get the relationship established, trust them with the CPA work, get it done up front. Don't ignore letters, get right to them, let them take the stress out, let them tell you what they need, and let them be the go-between. They've got the expertise to do it. And that's, to me, that's the message I got, is call these guys. So I wholly suspect after our 18, we got a comment. So let me see who's that. Okay, so American Eagle. Let me not post this because I want to put the name of the company up. Just let me read it to you, okay? Because I don't want to put their company on here. It says, we got a letter from the IRS saying that we didn't report income. To find out that it was our tax accountant failed to report right income, I have sent an email to you all. So you will get an email from this person. I know her. They're actually a client. That's all I'm going to say. So they are a very good company down in Hutto, Texas, Round Rock, Texas.
Okay. Sure.
Awesome.
So in your Hook'em Horns area.
I love it. And the Hutto Hippos too, I might add.
Yes, right down. Yes. And that's great. So you guys are going to get a email from them.
Okay, great.
Okay. And I will not post that comment because I don't want to put their name up there. So
Absolutely.
This is what we love about what we do. We never know what this is going to lead to. And if this whole show helps this one person, amen. Right. This is why we do this. So any final thoughts?
I would say one thing I'd like to add is, we kind of talked about this before the show, but, if we could impart one thing on individuals, business owners, is that you're not alone. I know it's, your tax finances are a very personal situation, but there's millions of people out there. We've got over 1 million people right now in the U.S. that have not filed a tax return in 5 years. Basically.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So you're not alone. And, getting a letter from the IRS, dealing with IRS problems does not make you a bad person. Right. You're dealing with very complex, opaque laws or what have you. And, there's no stigma to it. I mean, most everybody's going to have some sort of IRS run-in at some point in their life. There's no shame in it. And, don't be afraid to reach out and get help.
Don't panic. Don't panic.
Yeah. I gotta say also for me, a big takeaway on this is that there is a lot of knowledge, specialized knowledge in here that I don't have, and it really doesn't make sense for me to try to go pursue it. I mean, I could try to dig down YouTube and Google University all I want, but probably not the best use of my time. And as you mentioned, right, like setting things up properly from the beginning is a much smarter way to go about it. So for people that are watching this, listening to this, or they had that man, you know what? I really should take a more thorough, more strategic approach to how I'm handling the business, because I'm not a tax expert. If they want to get in touch with you, what should they do? What should be the steps, or how do they consider working with you?
You can give us a call. Our number is 817-995-5008. Or you can shoot us an email on our website. We've got our, you can just send a form in, or my email is info@libertytaxdefenders.com. Wade's is wade@libertytaxdefenders.com. So call, email, however you want to go about it.
Yep.
And
if I don't answer, we don't answer, we'll call you right back.
When I go back and add this description, all your questions in the description, when I finalize this for you guys to hit the link, I'll make sure I go put the phone number and the link to your 7 secrets up so that people can download that from the website. And guys, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for giving
Thank
us
you
this
guys.
opportunity.
It's great. Really enjoyed it.
So we are
Absolutely.
the Mansfield Buzz. We like to cover the local businesses, in the local area and the surrounding areas close by. We are booked through November 1st, just to repeat. We have a good listening audience. And as we said today, it looks like these guys might have picked up a client possibly from this. And this is what it's all about, is getting the word out and letting people have a conversation. Jordan, any final thoughts?
Just grateful. Lots of really good information. It's fantastic to have, people as knowledgeable as you to come here and just give us some information and allow us to, ask the dumb questions and then be told that there's not dumb questions, So you're very gracious with your knowledge, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you guys very much.
Oh, no problem. And everybody, we'll see you next week. Mansfield Buzz, 2:00 live on YouTube. Have a good day, everybody.
Awesome.
Bye, y'all.
Mm-hmm.